tiny bit helpful this time.
Well, trigger me timbers, Claire. I thought we were such a dynamic duo. I've got my roasting blood ready. Let's do this.
I'm born ready for this, James.
Good to hear, good to hear. Eton Sibsha whatever. Don't be fooled by Eton's sweet, gentle, fairy queen aesthetic it's got going on there. Just beneath the surface burns a Republican spirit so fierce it would singe even Jerry Adams' eyebrows. When she's not passionately advocating for the reunification of the island of Ireland or the formation of an independent kingdom of West Cavan, Eton will be found in Cunra, gyrating to Hall and Oates and, of course, Comanche Black and Tan, the Welsh remix, too. Now, I know what you're wondering. Where on God's good earth did we find such a reincarnation of Kathleen Yehuha? Well, wonder no more. The distant, semi-mythical land of Leitrim, where the hills roll gently down to the sea, and until very recently, as Con kindly pointed out earlier, the last county in Ireland with no traffic lights. All changed utterly. Back in November, when we got our first set of traffic lights in Eton and my local town of Manorhamilton. Since then, they've been destroyed twice by trucks crashing into them, living up to our semi-official motto of smash the system. I can only hope Eton's speech goes better this season.
Opening up on the outside, we've got Ryan the Grunwell. A true character this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ryan's sitting on the outside today to assure his girlfriend Maeve that he doesn't mind where her law and German degree leads her. Which is very kind of you, Ryan, but I'm not sure you've realized what an unhealthy relationship you've gotten yourself into here, because your lady's sitting on the other side of the bench. Also, are you telling us that you don't have much faith in her becoming a successful lawyer?
Yes.
No wonder she's sitting on that side, right? But debating against your girlfriend, like, that's a little weird, to be honest, Ryan, because, like, we've all heard of couples debating together, but couples that debate against each other, like, that's a bit extreme. Not sure if your Instagram post should read couple goals or couples therapy needed. But Maeve, Ryan, and I, we go way back to Cork, that is, where I was excited to share a travel lodge room with Maeve and Alice, but little did I know that I would also become roommates with the Grun himself. And little did I also know that the Grun here snores like a bear, and he sleeps in tidy whities. So Ryan, all I can say is, I'm glad you got dressed for this.
Nicole, where's Catherine? We're so worried. You two are separated. We sent out a search party, but to no avail. Yes, Nicole has certainly made friends in the film. One red-haired, moderately sized deal certainly comes to mind. I couldn't possibly name names, but I mean, what happens in Doyle stays in Doyle. Am I right, Kyle? I'll adapt to that. James is such a capitalist pig. I'm going to enjoy watching the streets run red with his bourgeois blood. Oh my God, Irene, I'm so sorry. I seem to have picked up your speech by mistake. Yes, that's right. Irene, opium of the masses, MacDonald, is the communist influence in tonight's debate. Don't fall for her charming personality or her impeccable eyebrows. Irene marches beneath the flag almost as red as Niall Maher's hair. I must say, though, I'm surprised to see you speaking. Are you for or against the motion?
Well,
yes, I'm surprised to see you speaking against this motion tonight. I mean, as a Euro Studies student, I would have thought marrying wealth is the only way you could have a comfortable lifestyle. And Sebastian said to us, I mean, aside from being the top result when you Google image search douche, what is there to say about Seb? And the truth is, not an awful very funny story about Sebastian. It was the Wednesday of Freshers Week, the Freshers Ball, and we're all in the academy getting absolutely wasted. We had a great night, and Freshers, let's drink. Like all good nights, it ended up in McDonald's on Grafton Street, round about 3:30 in the morning. And one really enthusiastic engineering student had acquired lots of those little coffee stirrers, and built an impressive bridge that spanned the gap between two tables. And it was, impressive for a wasted first year at 3:30 in the morning. Not to Seb, though, who decided it'd be hilarious to smash this bridge and get up on the sofa, sing Westlife to the entire restaurant, and offer a really heartfelt apology when the bouncer came over and told him to get down or he'd kick him out.
For third off tonight, we've got Joey Kavanagh, none other than Joey Kavanagh, and by none other I mean Joey has participated in a maximum 2 fill events before, and none of us are really sure who he is. Everything I know about Joey comes from outward appearances. I know Joey spends a majority of his time standing outside of House 91. Is it simply coincidence that that's the same place that all the Americans smoke their evening joint? I think not. The second thing I've noticed about Joey is his incredible sense of style. The real statement is when Joey wears his classic outfit of Calvin Klein jean overalls with his Yeezys. Let me repeat, Calvin Klein jean overalls, right? So this isn't just like I had a rough night and don't feel like wearing pants today. Oh no, these are Calvin Klein. The man's trying, okay? He went out and specifically searched for these Calvin Klein overalls, I just know it. Joey, your outfit makes such a statement that I notice it in a crowd of 100 best people in our lectures. Was it not enough of a sign when the Hall's musical cast asked to borrow them for their homeless middle-aged man character? Honestly, I wish I was making this stuff up. But Joey, you seem like a cool guy, and I'd love to become your friend, but I have a feeling that after all this, I won't be seeing you again. For closing prop tonight, we've got Maeve Clackley. Now, Maeve, where do I even begin? Maeve and I have an interesting relationship. We've now all heard the story of Cork I told earlier. Besides the fact that Maeve went a little bit extreme on the wine Saturday night and found herself spending most of the evening in our travel lodge bathroom. So when I came knocking on the door around 2 a.m., I was greeted by Ryan, of course, again in his underwear, telling me I should probably find somewhere else to sleep tonight. Why would Ryan need to be near stark naked while holding his girlfriend's hair over the toilet? I'm not quite sure what was going on there. But after packing up my things in room 9 of the travel lodge and moving to Kate Deadass Kleinley's room, I had a bit of an odd experience myself. You see, Kate's travel lodge room had an empty bed at the time, but surely enough, someone came in about an hour after I fell asleep, did not realize I was sleeping there, and left about an hour before I wake up. But I'm just glad this person wears pajamas, so we know it wasn't Ryan. After all this, I kind of thought, we've had an interesting night. Maeve and I are definitely at least going to be friends after this. But when she didn't even recognize me in the long dress this weekend, I decided to cut all ties. Maeve, absolutely dead to me. But to be fair, I don't think I'm missing out on much, given the fact that her last Facebook post was, I quote, "I've got a hashtag freeless pass to cost cutters for using hashtag Vipsy." Maeve, if you spend your nights raving at cost cutters, could you please pick me up some milk because I'm out? Also, you may want to buy some actually flexing his muscles, you know? Like really, really, Shane, really, I don't think you're gonna be on my future friend list. But anyway, Shane's so basic, there's not much more to learn about him on that front. But in the words of Shane Keeley himself, in an over-eager message that he sent to Manus one day at the beginning of first term, he goes, "That's all my wisdom for tonight, you zesty zykes. Keneally exits with toys."
Are there any objections to me signing these as a true and accurate record of the last public business meeting? There being none, I shall do so. All right, so welcome everybody to our annual Exec debate, which is run by our freshers. For the motion before the House this evening is this House would marry rich. So just before we start the debate, I'll go through a couple of the standing orders. So speeches are a maximum of 10 minutes in length, and we have protected time at the first and last minute of each speech, and the audience is welcome to give points of information throughout each speaker's speech. So you can stand up and offer the speaker a point of information, and should they accept it, you go ahead. We also have oratory returns, so you can rate performance of our student speakers, and as you leave the chamber at the end, you can pass your oratory returns to a member of team staff who will be collecting them. Perfect. So without further ado, we shall start the debate. So on first prop, we have Eton, a junior freshman in law and political science. And Eton, since this is your first time speaking in the chamber, you are afforded what are known as maiden's rights. This means no one from the audience can offer you POIs. You can choose to keep these rights or waive them, which means you'll be met with a rapturous round of applause.
I'll waive them.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to live up to my reputation and I'm going to talk about Irish freedom. So, just to give a little bit of a context for anyone not familiar with Irish history, right, there were these lads a while back, right, and they came over for a wee while and kind of, we weren't really too mad gone on them, and they were called the British Forces. And so, anyway, they headed off with themselves, fucked off back home, thank God, and left 26 of the counties, we wish they'd leave 6. Yeah, because there's a few of them still knocking out up north. So, as you know, my name is Eton Saoirse na hÉireann Suibhne na gothic. And I'm going to talk about Irish freedom because it is my literally my middle name. So, if by some twist of fate you haven't picked up on this or haven't met me until this point, I'm going to make 2 things clear. 1, I am a raging nationalist. 2, I am not in the IRA. The IRA and I are separate organisations, just to get that clear. So I'm going to start by reclaiming the North. This house would marry rich, so I could use this newly acquired wealth to buy back the 6 counties. Because, you know, Chucky our law. So my second point is that we would marry into the British aristocracy. Now don't get too worried, it's going to get a bit heavy later on. And we would infiltrate their bloodline with Republican blood, thus spreading and preserving the Irish language and putting more pressure on the British upper classes to support a united Ireland.
Yeah, is it really worth sleeping with a British royal person though?
Oh yeah, I'll get to that later on. We can talk about that. So my first point, this has to marry rich to use our wealth as a bargaining tool to get back the 6 counties. So considering the shitstorm that currently is the British economy, cough Brexit, cough, I think this is a financially viable suggestion for the Brits. The British forces have had their hands all over our northern regions for years, without our consent, and to be honest, this violation needs to stop. I mean, I think that the prospect of a payoff might deter the unnecessary fondling that's been going on for about 800 years. Like, they're all over us like a UCD student in Coppers, like Manus Dennison over a cardboard cutout of himself, and like Mary... on literally every flat surface in the GMB. I mean, seriously, I'm afraid to sit down in this place. So, yeah, they need to take the fucking hint. They need to take the money, and they need to fuck off with themselves. So I think that the fact that we would be trapped in a loveless marriage like Caitlín Maud's Anne Alta was trapped in a zoo, that, you got the reference, that most likely was built by the Queen because she's into that weird shit anyway. But our love for Ireland is one that is indelible. It's undeniable. It's undefeatable. We love Ireland more than Dev loves being an absolute snake. I mean, fucking Dev, right? Like, just fuck you, Dev, you absolute fucking rat. You fucking sellout. Hold on, I have more. Go back to that fucking boat you were born on, you absolute fucker. I mean, do you even go here? No, you don't, because you went to fucking Black Rock, didn't you? And Con, where is he? Con went to fucking Black Rock trying to infiltrate the Irish game, aren't you? Bet you love Dev, love that Spanish on you. But just to reiterate, fucking Dev. Am I right? I'm right. A rich girl, you know the song, I'm not gonna sing. We could single-handedly form a united Ireland, and that, as it happens, would never be at peace while unfree. That is true. So, I'll make sure. On to my second point. This house would marry into the British aristocracy, just in case the whole paying off the Brits thing to get out doesn't work. So basically this house would marry rich because we could marry into the British aristocracy and raise our children in Irish, yup, Skame. This would create, I'm on Skame in case you didn't pick that up. Yeah, go on.
Are you not concerned about the British aristocracy's strange deformed features from years of inbreeding?
Oh, I know what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but I'll get to later on. I'll just let you know how I'm going to kind of give you tips on how you can have Gerry Adams as your essential mistress. So that should alleviate that problem. But we'll get to that, Ryan. You know, I know you're eager. Yeah, So this will create a generation of baby Podrick Pearces, even with slightly deformed features. But sure, who knows, they might be Jerry's. That will persuade future aristocrats to give us back our 6 counties. So if Dev thought that all us comely maidens, yeah, fucking Dev again, would be dancing at the crossroads with the locals, he has another thing coming, and this is your point. So I know Gerry Adams is hot as fuck, right? Like we all would, to be fair, wouldn't we? Yeah, you would. Yeah, I know. He's such a silver fox. I mean, like, hello, daddy. Do you ever just look at Gerry Adams' beard and think, I would love to run my fingers through that. I mean, it's so lush and thick, and I mean, he's got a little bit of power, and you know, when he sings Come Out You Black and Tans, oh, gets me hot. Anyway, so this house believes that we must marry rich in order to persuade the British aristocracy, who have, for some reason utterly beyond me, long been suspicious of the Republican movement, and we need to persuade them that a united Ireland is a legitimate aim. So this house would focus our efforts on the rich upper class because they hold all the power, and let's face it, power it can be really attractive, even when it really, really shouldn't be. And Matthew Newding, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? Yeah, he knows. Anyway, there's one thing that the British aristocrats value more than invading and exploiting other people's countries, fucking off with themselves as soon as the shit hits the fan, and then bragging about how peacefully they achieved their Independence Day. Cough, Brexit, cough. I feel like I'm repeating myself. We would raise the rich daddy's children through Irish because I think there's a really strong need to spread the language outside the Gaeltacht and outside of certain Irish teenagers that venture into the shticks every summer in the hope of getting the shift around the back of the ban and cheese gap. So to conclude, advantages of marrying rich, 6 counties and infiltration of the British ranks. Now, I know if I went around this table and asked each of you philosophers or sociologists or whatever futile degree you've convinced your daddy to pay for what 26 plus 6 is, and I know you'd all say you thought you're not even talking about marrying rich anymore, and you know what I tell you? Well, fuck ye! You say Trinners for winners, I say Trinners for shinners. Tucky our fucking law.
I'd like to thank that speaker for her fine words, and now invite Ryan to open the case to side opposition. Ryan, since this is your first time speaking in the chamber, you're afforded what are known as maiden's rights. This means nobody in the audience can give you a point of information. You can choose to keep these rights or waive them and be met by a rapturous round of applause.
I'd like to waive them. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the proposition, members of the opposition, council members of the Phil, and hopefully no council members of the Hist. My name is Ryan Grunwell, and I stand before you today to beg you to oppose this motion, this house will marry rich. I have two main points: why rich people are bad, what is wrong with the proposition, which I will discuss after I clarify exactly what it is we are arguing. For the purposes of this debate, I will be using the terms proposition to refer to the disgusting pack of amoral harlots and rogues on this side of the table, and likewise, when I refer to the opposition, I refer to the last bastions of truth, justice, and also common decency. I believe the Black Eyed Peas were dead right when they said on their chart-topping record, Elefunk, where is the love? I ask you again, where is the love? As we all know, love trumps hate. So in a dark, dangerous world filled with so much hate, darkness, and evil, where people die for no good reason, we need a lot of love to overcome true evil. Marriage stands for one thing: love. Love is good because it spreads happiness. Therefore, rich people are ugly, not only because of their teeth, yellowed from gorging on the fruits of exploited proletariat labor, but also because they are ugly on the inside. For example, people like Mr. Anus Finger Her Up the Gicker Menison reach the tippity-toppity of this hallowed institution, despite embodying middle-class mediocrity and also being a four-eyed dweeb who plays the triangle. Thankfully, others earn their right to authority here. For example, your boy Matthew Nude Bling. For example, reached the coveted rank of Prez by participating in not 1, 2, or 3 successful barbershop quartets, but 5. He single-handedly stopped Coney in TY by distributing masks bearing said warlord's face in assembly, and last but not least, he has very rich parents. Given the scale of the rich's manifest glee in abusing corrupt institutions to further themselves, the idea of spending one's entire life with one such person seems utterly repulsive. As such, a role such as this is reserved only for the most depraved of human beings. This leads me on to my next point. As is customary in debating, let me now direct your attention to the content of the proposition's character to show why their arguments are invalid. Yesterday, Eitan said some pretty weird stuff about a 32-county socialist republic, which is pretty ironic given which side of the bench she stands, am I right, guys? Which leads me to ask, how can we trust such a hypocrite? Furthermore, she can speak Irish fluently, which is kind of weird. Also, that speech was kind of weird too. Nicole, I've been told, is only on the prop bench because she is simply too lazy to hold down a simple desk job at Lush. Furthermore, as the registrar previously noted, she got with Niall Maher in the back there in the corner, which is pretty weird. Sebastian, as the only man on the prop bench, probably chose his side because he utterly lacks the intelligence, sense of humour, or penis size required to attract a mate, without falling back on his South Dublin estate. Finally, Maeve Claffey is a vehement classist. While dating a mere pro such as myself, she has constantly reminded me that she is, and I quote, the financially superior one here. She has often attempted to break up with me, only to remember how good I am in bed. I'd like to take a point from Maeve. Point of information?
Oh yeah. I don't know what good sex is because I've never had it.
Marrying rich, sugar daddying, or sugarcoating the father or what have you is, for these reasons, one of the most detestable forms of social climbing. I mean, yeah. In our humble organisation alone, thankfully, we have this year not seen any abuse of erotic capital from freshers attempting to make their way up the ranks, nor any abuse of said naive freshers from the council, Brian Flynn, Comacarrick. Shane Keneally, during his speech, will probably give you a deeper insight into the true nature of social climbing. Social position is irrelevant, folks, when people love you. For example, many people love me for who I am. Not just because of my cool clothes, great sense of humor, or washboard abs. Early in life, not receiving this unconditional love, which I receive on a constant basis, might I add, not receiving this kind of love can leave people emotionally retarded. In fact, the adverse effects can often leave people feeling angry, frustrated, or other forms of sad and stuff. Joey, in his speech, will explain why the lack of love he received during his parents' sham marriage, and later on in life, when those darn jocks wouldn't leave him alone, led him to shooting up his school. Moving on to my last point, I'd like to thank my dear friend Claire and the other guy for such excellent minutes. Thankfully, they took little to no inspiration from my usual registrar, Sheila Naughton. Sheila is a reality TV star who unfortunately spends the entirety of her minutes telling us what happened in the latest episode of Gogglebox, which is, invariably, that her and her family were paid to watch TV. In summary, love trumps hate, which is why we all need to love people. Marriage is love, and this is why marriage is good. For all of these reasons, and perhaps even more next week, I beg you to vote up, and at least pretend that everyone else is as funny as me.
I'd like to thank the Run for his fine words, and now invite Nicole to give me the case beside proposition. Nicole, you are also afforded what are known as maidens' rights, so you can choose to keep them or waive them and be met by a first round of applause.
I would like to waive them, please. Okay. Is it 7 minutes or 10?
7.
Cool. Okay, good. Right. Okay. Guys, let's be real, okay? Ever since I found out what money was, I've wanted it. And ever since I found out what work was, I've never wanted to do it. It's just in human nature to want to get the most out of life without actually having to do that much work. Like, why wouldn't this house marry rich? I mean, if the simple idea of having lots of money isn't enough to sway you, hopefully my points today will do the job. Okay, right, so when I was like brainstorming and jotting down ideas for this debate, the only thing I had written on my page for a while was money equals good, okay? And while that may be true, there are also a wealth of other reasons why marrying rich is the best option for everyone involved. Yes, even for the person that you're exploiting. And secondly, I'm going to talk, Secondly, I'm going to talk about just how, because we're advocating for a money marriage, doesn't mean that we hate love, okay? We just acknowledge that love is dead and worthless and can't buy you a Mercedes. And finally, I'm going to talk about how historically... Sure.
But don't you think love trumps hate?
As I'm going to explain in my speech, that's probably not that important anyway. So, and finally, I'm going to talk about how historically, gold diggers and people who like money have always had it better anyway. Okay, so I'm going to start my main points. So firstly, why marrying rich benefits everyone. So obviously it benefits you because you get money and nice things, but your spouse will also treat you better because they know that you're just clearly a shallow and frivolous person who's only around for the money and who could leave at any moment. You'll even get more gifts just so you can stick around. What's also great for you is that you'll never have to work a day in your life now that you're super rich. And if you do want to work, you can have a job that you're like really passionate about, okay? So, you know, like you can open up that animal shelter that you've always wanted, you can be Batman, or, you know what, you can invest in improving society and pay somebody to invent something useful, like, I don't know, a Dublin bus real-time information app that actually works, okay? And that might have been why I was late today and I'm just a little bit bitter about that, but okay. And also, if you start out as a humble gold digger, you might end up with like a really cool job, like, oh, I don't know, First Lady of the United States. And I think that's pretty cool, and I'm definitely not saying that that's what happened. Okay. Thank you. How much do I? Some where was it? Okay. What I mean by all of this is essentially that the world is your oyster when you're wealthy, okay? Just like the beautiful oyster whose pearls you'll be harvesting to wear around your neck, okay? It's fine. Okay, but let's not forget as well about the person that you're marrying, okay? I mean, they benefit too, right? Like, I have no points to back that up. I was just asking a genuine question. They benefit too, right? Somehow. Now, I'm just like a rich person that you will marry will emotionally benefit from this nice relationship in which they feel loved and valued. Okay? And so what if they still believe that emotional wealth is better than financial wealth? Don't ever tell them that it's not. Just let them believe that and everyone will stay happy. Okay, secondly, secondly, I'm going to talk about how not marrying for love is not necessarily the awful thing that opposition will probably and have made it out to be. I mean, most people probably aren't in love with the person they marry anyway. Like, why are there such high numbers of divorce? Personally, I stopped believing in the concept of love when Brangelina broke up. Like, did you see how many kids they adopted together? There must have been some real love there, and like, boom, suddenly it's all gone, and they've split up faster than you can say, damn, I hope they signed a prenup. Okay, like, love is dead, guys, and I stand by that. It's also just an emotional burden, and will probably end up in heartbreak. This is a little bit cynical, but okay. But at least if you marry rich, like, right, and you enter into a relationship where there are never any emotional attachments from the outset, nobody gets hurt. If you divorce, you still leave it your feelings intact and a lot of money. I mean, I personally would marry rich just for that. Okay. Furthermore, if you're still someone who believes that love is necessary for a happy marriage, you can still have that under our model of marrying rich, okay? I mean, think about it. You could totally fall in love with the rich person that you marry. Like, it would be super easy to love somebody who buys you things and takes you on expensive holidays. It's a little bit like Stockholm Syndrome, but much less awful. So, lastly, I'd like to present you with further proof, if you really need it, as to why marrying rich and being a gold digger is amazing. When writing this speech, I decided to cast my eye back on history, i.e. every mid-2000s club chart list, and I found some pretty overwhelming evidence to back up my claim. So in 2005, we were blessed with a little song called Gold Digger, and we were shown the type of life you could have if you married rich. The gold digger that Kanye West is talking about is clearly living her best life, okay? Let's take a look at the lyrics. I'm not gonna sing it, but Cutie the Bomb met her at a beauty salon with a baby Louis Vuitton under her arm, okay? This girl is spending time at the beauty salon, she's treating herself, she is pampering herself, she's having a good time, and she even has expensive bags and clothes, and this is all because she married for money. Where am I? Oh, Kanye goes on to expand his argument later in the song by saying that this girl is getting so much dollar from her rich husband that her house and her car is bigger than his house and his car. And I quote, his baby mama car and crib is bigger than his. Okay? Clearly this girl is a really well-experienced gold digger and has been doing it for quite some time. And while I can't say that we'll all rise to her level immediately after marrying rich, we can persevere and keep going. And you know what? If there's no immediate success the first time, all you gotta do is keep remarrying, okay? And eventually we'll all just be like Kanye West's gold digger. Okay? Guys, thank you so much. I'm only on 5 minutes, 30 seconds. This is so short. Guys, thank you so much for listening to my points today. And I really hope that I've convinced you all to get rid of your crazy and outlandish dreams of marrying for love and instead marry for those sweet dollar bills. Okay? It's good for you. It's good for the person that you're marrying, and it's better for you emotionally. Okay? To finish up, I'm going to leave you with a quote. Again, it's something from Kanye. And yes, this is an entire book of Kanye quotes, and I thought that I lost it before I came to the chamber, and I got really sad, but I found it again. Okay. But anyway, so here's the quote. It's a little bit paraphrased, okay? I believe that money is important. I think that artists and people have been brainwashed to look at money as a bad thing, and it's not, okay? Thanks, Kanye. So, I think that people have been brainwashed to look at money this way, and I believe in what Kanye has to say. Money is the only thing that matters, and I urge you all to chase after it, okay? So go and marry rich. Yay!
I'll wave them, please. So the thing is, I get it. I get the whole appeal of marrying rich, or like, you know, taking the counties back, as Ethan told us. I get that it would be really cool to never have to get the bus again, or worry about running out of pot noodles, or like, you know, you get to be like the Phil, you get to prance around every day in your suits and pretend like your life's an episode of Downton Abbey. It sounds pretty fun, really. But it would be a pretty good plan if it weren't for the fact that it's horribly, horribly flawed. So first of all, we have to take into account who are the people with money and who are the people with money in this room. And you have to look at them. Look at the Phil Council and look at the best students. Is it really worth marrying them and spending an entire, you know, lifetime, or at least the 4 years it's going to take, you know, just for a holiday abroad? I just don't think so. Because the only people who are going to make money in this college who, you know, got successful because of their degrees are probably the computer science people. But like, I've been here 4 months now, and I'm honestly starting to question if they even exist, because I've never been in like a social situation and asked them what they study, and they said, oh yeah, computer science. Like, I think they probably just live like... Sorry, Jane. So, I have a theory that they just live out like a really peaceful existence over in Arson, Fiercing, and the Hamilton. They all speak in binary to each other, and it's all really cute. But like, you know, I'm happy for them. Like, they get to live this very like tranquil life. They don't have to worry about the fact that they have poverty in the horizon like the rest of us art students. So, yeah, and the only other people with money in this college are the D4s. And like, it's all well and good for, you know, this side of the house, who are all D4 heads, to say that it's really easy to... No, well, maybe you went to a private school and you tell everyone that. Yeah, but you went to a private school and you always talk about it. Anyway, so... Yeah, no, but you're busy with the counties and stuff. Okay. Yeah, so it's all well and good for you guys. You think it's like really easy to get on with rich people and the kind of people, you know, who make up for their personality with money. But like, honestly, for anyone who's not from Dublin, or even from the south side, the whole idea of a D4 wanker is kind of a foreign concept that we didn't really think existed to this extent. We just thought that, you know, they're just in Russell Carroll Kelly books, and they don't really have weird Irish names like Reen, or really Protestant names like Elizabeth. But they do. And, you know, you'll probably spot them, like, they'll be wearing really colourful socks like Colin, and they'll probably ask you if you want to go to Chopped so they can spread their vegetarian agenda on everyone. Now, in contrast to that, I came from a community college which, for want of a better word, was really, really public. They're the kind of public where people drove to school in tractors and people shat in soap dispensers. So like, while you guys were all doing like, oh my god, my really fun trip to China at school in 4th year, or like, you know, you get visits from Michael D. Higgins, the most exciting part of our school lives is the fact that we had a phantom shitter in our school. I mean, we really did, and like, it was really exciting because he'd like just defecate in really like mysterious places in the school, and you know, like baffle his adoring fans. So like, that was really, you know, that was interesting, but just not as interesting as other things. So you can imagine the culture shock when I first met Mark Finn. Where are you, Mark Finn? There he is, Mark Finn. So I first met Mark at a model parliament thing in Maynooth in transition year, 4th year, as you guys call it. I don't know what that's about. So so at the end of this event, like, we all gave our speeches and we were given sandwiches, and that was all good. So I complimented Mark on his speech, and I may have been flirting because my gaydar was really lacking at the time. So that's what that was. And I asked what school he goes to, and he just confidently smirked and said, Gonzaga. And I'd never heard of Gonzaga before, so I was like, oh yeah, I have a friend from Finglas who goes there, and I just never seen a face drop so quickly. It was But Mark, you know, you'll be honoured to hear that you're the first person who's so posh that I ever met, you know, back when I was 15, 16. And when you consider the fact that my primary school was so rural that there were only 3 in my class, and one day the principal took all 50 of us in the school, had to have an intervention because because he told us that we really shouldn't be bullying the kids who smell like cow shite and stale milk, because we can't all be sheep farmers. And like, that was fair. But the whole marrying rich thing is only really a realistic goal if you're actually good at making first impressions, because as we've already established, you know, you guys admitted it, they can be quite shallow. Yeah, so the Phil Chamber debates are a really good way to mingle with the bourgeoisie. Like, so first of all, you get to hear them be absolutely slated by Sheila in the minutes, which is great, but then you're thrown into the dangerous world of trying to mingle with them. So, you try to be part of them, you try to be like one of them, and you nod along agreeingly to Manus Denison's really relatable story about bringing his French exchange students sailing, and you say something along the lines of like, oh my god, yeah, I actually love sailing myself, I go every summer. But it's all fake. And the thing is, the Phil have like this really good way of bringing out like, pointing out the imposters, and it's the fact that they give out so much free wine. And like just anyone who has like had too much wine at the receptions will know that no matter how fancily you hold the glass, your commoner will eventually come out and you'll be exposed to everyone. So I mean, the bourgeoisie is like, they're intimidating enough without the fact that alcohol is going to ruin the chance of them ever taking you seriously ever again. Yeah, I'm talking from experience. So about 2 months ago, I spoke to Harry Higgins for the first time, and people know the story. So people know about the story. So basically, we were having a really interesting conversation about whatever course he does, and it was a Beyonce debate, so there were lemons there, and I took I like to fidget. Okay, you can probably see my hands going all over the place. So someone gave me a lemon, and I was delighted. I had something to fidget with. And so I was talking to him, really riveting, and then he looks down and realizes that I had been rubbing my boob with the lemon the whole time. But in my defense, like my gaydar was also lacking, and I actually thought you were gay, so sorry to break that to you, I wasn't sure. So the whole idea of marrying rich, so we understand that, marrying rich is cool, you have to have money, but first of all, it's really hard to hang out with these people. As we already said, it's really hard to make a good first impression. It's hard to, relate to them and their sailing activities. And, second of all, it's just not the most effective way to bring about a socialist republic. So I did not bring a counter here. So in order to bring a socialist republic and, live in this feminist socialist utopia, what we need to do is exploit as many men as possible. Like, we're talking blackmailing, we're talking extortion, we're doing the whole damsel in distress thing, because that's the only way we're going to bring about this whole idea of spreading the wealth that you guys have. You should be spreading it around and exploit as many people as possible, not just stay with this one guy who's probably terrible in bed because the only thing he ever rode in college was a lift up to the top floor of the usher. So really... So, on those many points, we just think that you should exploit as many people as possible, because one D4 person is just not enough to fulfill your life. Thank you very much.
I'll never turn down applause. I wave. So first off, I have some beef. Ryan, as James and any other physicist will tell you, it's not the size of the vector that counts. It's the force. By the end of the night, you will be convinced that not only would this house marry rich, but indeed that this house does marry rich. I tried to get the best example of a sugar daddy I could find.
Point of information.
Go on.
Was it your mother?
No. I'll get to that later. Then it came to me. The best example of a sugar daddy is indeed the University Philosophical Society itself. Hear me out. The sugar daddy relationship is based on the exchange of fancy goods and being treated nicely for company. Simple, friendly company. And if that's the case, and I believe it is, I ask you, how many times? How many times, Ciara O'Leary, how many times have you posted into our freshers group chat asking us, no, inviting us to your fabulous events, full of free food, free wine, well, just a great time for everyone involved. Let's get something straight, all right? We might be the Phil's new and up-and-coming fresh meat. But that does not make us. It doesn't make us your fresh meat. I mean, can I ask? I might make a few enemies here, but what on earth is the difference between the Phil and the Hist? Because the only thing that I've heard from pretty much every Phil person I've ever met, by the way, it's that Phil people know how to run events. I heard that 3 times of Freshers Week. Thank you. So if that's not confirmation that you all don't subscribe to this little sugar daddy complex, then I don't know what is. But there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with getting a little sugar for your sugar. So yeah, Kira, keep those posts coming, all right? Relationships are all about satisfying each other's needs. And that's all this is. Satisfying needs. And don't get me wrong, I wholeheartedly agree that you should marry for love. What I disagree with is this idea of one love. I mean, I'm sorry, Bob Marley, but the Trogs had it right all along. Love is all around, guys. I love my family. I love my friends. There are both men and women who I treasure and would give all for. But should I marry them? Absolutely not. Marriage is based on 2 things, love and circumstance. The love is easy, or so I'm told, but it's the circumstance that counts. You need someone who fits your needs. If your needs need cash, then chain me up and call me darling. Enter my second sugar daddy. In fact, sugar mommy. She is indeed my mommy. I am in the unusual position in that my father is a house husband. This is not because he's bad at any job, nor because she is a dyed-in-the-wool feminist. But that second one is very true. Myself and my brother whipped into shape. But they aren't the reasons. Oh, sugar. The real reasons are that my mother wanted to keep working, but didn't want her children raised by a stranger. And my father wanted a simple life looking after us. The truth is, they found love, but they also found circumstance. The result is a happy marriage and 3 beautiful children. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, Harry Higgins. There's a new Prince Charming in town. Money is just on the surface. It's easy to see what's on the surface. First thing I was told on the very stairs of the GMB was that I was a real lad, aren't you? Fuck you, Catherine Profasky, or however you say your second name. I don't really mind, because she's only a Hist girlo, and I don't really like hanging out with those crew. Yeah. My point is, I'm not just some jock lad. That's not real, you know. And don't forget, I'm also just a boy, standing in front of the Phil, asking them to love me. That's all I want. Love and your sweet, sweet wine. So if that makes me some sort of money-hungry slut, then kiss me quick and squeeze me slow, Matthew Nugent, because I'm all yours. I want a safe and fortunate marriage. Hence, I beg you. I'd get on my knees, but I've done that too much for the Phil already. I beg you to propose.
I'd like to thank that speaker for his fine words, and now invite Joey to continue the case for side opposition. Joey, since this is your first time speaking in the chamber, you are also afforded debatant's rights. You can choose to keep these rights or to waive them.
I'll waive them. First of all, I'd like to thank the roasters for noticing my impeccable style, but I wear those overalls not only because of my new unique and provocative fashion sense, but it's also to defend the proletariat. Thank you. Who will soon have their day? The demise of capitalism is here, and that investment wanker that you like so much, they'll be as valuable as those guys you swipe left on Tinder. Kiara? Members of the Philosophical Society, I humbly ask you to consider my reasoning as to why marrying rich is one of the worst decisions you can make in life. Exhibit A, Melania Nos Trump. Melania, bless her heart, had no intentions of wanting to get into politics. But now she's the First Lady of the United fucking States. How'd she get there? All because her morbidly obese Oompa Loompa of a husband thought it'd be a good idea. Now let's not get into politics, folks, but let's address the obvious with Mrs. Trump. The only reason she married Trump in the first place was for his financial stability and fancy clothes. And you gotta admit, I love fancy clothes too, but I wouldn't sleep with a Cheeto for years. So now she has no decisions on her life in general, from copying speeches to getting grabbed by the gicker. I'm really excited for what she has in store for her anti-bullying charity. Who knows what Donald Trump will have in store for these long business trips that he'll be away for, but at least Melania will be able to live in the lavish lifestyle of the Trump lifestyle, where everything is gold, including the showers. Another example of shitty people marrying rich is a piece from the esteemed Daily Mail. The title reads, "How to Snare a Millionaire. Sick of working at a shop, Kim reinvented herself with the sole aim of landing a rich husband, and got one." How did she accomplish her dreams, you may ask? Well, what Kim says is, the simple fact is, I spent months changing my appearance, even my accent. Also, I would meet a rich man, and I needed to delete my past in order to change my future. There's no joke here, guys. This is sad, and this is a reality. Beauty fades. Dumb is forever. It's decisions like this that makes Mariah Carey an actual human being. Their sole requirement is marriage is based on, I need to marry because my financial situation does not meet the lavish lifestyle that I deserve. Or, how am I supposed to be the next housewife of New Jersey if there's no rich guys around to marry me? And you know, divorce is always good news, side note. I know it sounds weird, but it's true because no marriage has ever ended in a good divorce. So personally, I hope Kim gets divorced. And I hope she reevaluates her shitty life and decisions. Do yoga and eat healthy, Kim. Find yourself and shit. Like, come on. Another example, take Wolf of Wall Street, a true story. When Naomi decides to leave Leonardo DiCaprio, Jordan Belfort, she gets punched in the gut. Because apparently cocaine and raising a child is a good combination to Jordan. Remember when Tiger Woods cheated on his wife with 13 different women and blamed it on sex addiction?
Point of information. Do you all agree that sex addiction is a real issue?
I'm sure a lot of people of the Phil have suffered with these issues, and I don't want to get into too much detail, but I'll move on. But I was going to say, like,
You know, blaming it on sex addiction is like Sheila saying she isn't funny because she didn't have time to write anything. You know, like... You know who's worse, though? You know who's worse, though? Melinda Gates. Like, we get it. Your husband's a billionaire. You can throw money at charity and still want to live a wonderful life. Let's be honest with ourselves, Melinda. As long as you've got your Chandon Dom Perignon before bedtime, do you really give a shit? Be honest. As a society, we need to change our principles. Love, not Louis Vuitton. Personality, not Porsches. Dick girth, not net worth. As Kanye West famously said from Gold Digger, she'll probably leave you ass for a white girl anyway. Thank you.
I'd like to thank that speaker for his fine words, and now invite Maeve to close the case beside proposition. Here, here. So Maeve, you are also afforded maiden's rights, so you can choose to keep these or to waive them to be met by rapturous applause.
I mean, I thought I lost them long ago, but I'll wave them again anyway. Okay, so tonight we've heard a lot of people come up with like some really structured speeches like, this is my first point of argumentation, this is my second point of argumentation, and they've like closed it off with a nice little bit of like, this is what I brought you in my argument. I actually don't really have any of that. So, but what I do have going for me are some lists. So I'm going to give you some lists right now. Okay, the first list, things you can do when you marry rich. First of all, get a degree in philosophy, sociology, Jewish and Islamic civilizations, and actually have some prospects. Ryan, I'm looking at you here, like, come on. Become a wine wife. All of the fun of a wine mom with none of the guilt of having to raise children while being a functional alcoholic. You can order something other than druids in the pav. You can have kids, give them a name with anus in it, and still not have them teased. Sorry, Manus. Okay, another big one. You won't have to try and get famous on reality television. Hey, Sheila. You also won't receive dick pics from random people who add you on Snapchat after seeing that reality TV show. Come on. Another thing you won't have to do is try and garner laughs from posting parkour videos, they just weren't really funny the first time. The final thing on my admittedly non-comprehensive list of things you can do when you marry rich is eat something other than a cheese toasty after sex. Come on. So I have another list.
What information? Was that last comment a reference to when Mark, Finn, and Orla Heatley slept with each other?
Yes, Ryan, yes it was. Okay, so my other list, my second list, in fact, is entitled When You Marry for Love. Admittedly, it's a lot shorter. I just had a lot of trouble with this one. Yeah. Okay, so the first thing I have on this is slowly feel yourself drift from your partner as resentment between you two festers due to your inability to make yourselves happy by purchasing material possessions. I think we
Point
can...
information?
Ryan, I think the salt should be left for outside the chamber.
Why do you have to call the scene in public?
Second thing on the list. Oh. Nice. Just gonna, yeah. Okay, so the second thing on the list is be taunted by the knowledge that you always could have married rich, you just chose not to because love was more important. And thirdly, and admittedly this was kind of brought up earlier, still my spotlight so to speak, you could probably have good sex, but I wouldn't be missing out because as I said, I just don't know what it is. Sure.
So would you really risk being stuck with someone, there's a really rich guy who's really bad in bed and you're stuck with him and you can't, go out with other filthy capitalists?
Actually, Irene, it's interesting you should bring that up. So the fatal flaw in your argument of communism is basically, so it's basically what I've devised, a truly Marxist solution. You accrue as many sugar daddies as possible. You exploit all of them, and then you single-handedly, overthrow the bourgeoisie. Do you not think that would be, go for it. Why
That's
not?
kind of exactly what I said. I just said, just don't marry them. It's not worth it.
Okay, Thanks. So yeah, here we go. You know, we've got onto the inevitable topic of sex. It just came up. So I have a little list for that too, but it's again not as long. So first of all, I'd just like to say that a bulging wallet is the only pleasure packet I can ever see myself needing. And the joy, nothing can surpass the joy of rubbing notes on my face without anything squirting out at the end. I mean, can I get a hell yeah? And so basically, before this debate, they sat us down, a few members of the film, they kind of said, guys, you're really going to have to be funny. Then they gave us some kind of tips, tips on how to be funny. And one thing they said was include an anecdote. I actually have an anecdote. So basically, I took out a book out of the library, on December 16th, and basically, but when I put it back, the library lost it. And it just so happens that with this particular book, the library charges you 50 cents an hour for every hour you don't return it, since the 16th of December at 5:15 p.m. So I owe about €800 to the library right now. Can we just see the perk of having a sugar daddy there? Just pay that straight off. No, that's my anecdote. I don't think it went down as well as I thought it would. Or you guys thought it would. Thank you. Can I just, first of all, Q, can you just not address me in public, please? Thanks.
Point of information, it's a comedy play, right?
Oh, shit. If anyone is having difficulty with the high calibre humor I'm providing, Shane is next. It'll be a bit easier. Okay. I have yet another list. Yeah, I know. I'll stop soon, I promise. So, things in life I can buy to make me happy, to fill the emotional void in my life. The first is companionship, whatever. The second is friends. Robin and Milan back there. Has Mam's direct debit come through yet? Grand. Laughs at this debate. That'd be nice. A huge Range Rover to traverse the rocky terrain of South County Dublin as I escort my kids to their private school. Thanks, Orla. So a place on Skane, so I don't have to make that exhausting commute on the doors from Blackrock. I can only imagine. And the last one on this one, a place higher than 10 on the Trinity 20, Matthew. Okay, so now that I've kind of got through all my substantive, I'm going to go down the opposition bench. So, speaking of small penises, Ryan was first off. So basically, I would just like to say that the whole reason he's opposing this motion is actually based on a conversation we had the other day, wherein he said, and I quote, home economics is a dumb subject for girls. Now, causation does not equal correlation, but it's clear that he doesn't want to marry rich because then his woman will be able to cook and clean for him. Obvious. He's also English, so there is that. Okay, Irene, you came out with quite a lot of interesting things. So, you were saying there's a lot of farmers in your school. Would you not agree that farmers can be rich too? That a rich farmer can be your sugar daddy, and it doesn't have to be a posh D4 who goes sailing in the summer?
Yeah, but they're really Catholic.
21 point of information. No, thank you. Yeah, and as the only girl on the opposition bench, my only conclusion can be that you hate yourself and are also a staunch meninist. So I'm just sorry for both of those things. Also, I just think it's really funny that you're so enamored with Harry Higgins that you felt compelled to bring him up in the debate. That's a bit intense. Joey, yeah, you're American. That's about it, sorry. And on to Shane. Oh, Shane. Shane, please put me on Council Keneally. Ryan brought up about social climbing. He actually got that from me because all Shane really wants to do is a cheeky game of Xbox with the lads, the Phil Council lads, in case that was unclear. He's that token flamboyant friend with an extensive glove collection to protect his delicate hands from the calluses of social climbing. It must be so tough. All that said, he can be actually a really decent guy. He can be a really great friend if you're really high up in the Phil and can do something for him in the end. I'll finish on one of his habits that I actually find the most endearing. So, you come home, it's been a long day. Shane's like, do you want to have a chat? Do you want to have a cup of tea? Would you like an espresso? And I'm like, yeah, Shane, I'd love an espresso. And it's just very classist. So then, we have our espressos, and he sits down and he says, mate, I was so fucked last night in O'Reilly's. Can't remember a thing. It's so fun. He just can't remember a single thing. This absolute legend can't remember a single thing. This house would marry rich, guys. That's all there is.
Welcome to the end of the Phil Comedy Exec 2016-17. What? I forgot myself. As May pointed out, I cannot remember a fucking thing, lads. I'm actually quite nervous to be here tonight. Like, some of you guys are pretty famous. Lads, the fucking Phil Council are here. If you haven't heard, they're kind of beanox on campus. There's Sheila, catch me outside, how about that, Naughton? Who, believe it or not, I'm actually from the same county as Sheila. Genuinely, like what? Who else is here? Orla Heatley. Okay, 1 second before I get into you, Orla. Lol, been there already for the Emmett's Party 2014. Whoa. The snarliest, sassiest, leaking bottle blonde to ever try and leave behind her private school notions and brown-haired roots. She wears metallic clothes with holes, an expression of contempt. I think we all know what side of the motion Orla's leaning towards tonight, because I think it's safe to say that if she doesn't have the firm, calloused hand of an older gent grasped around her throat and 8 new matches on seeking arrangements by 11, then she hasn't been a naughty girl. Orla's the girl with glitter in the bags of her eyes and Harry Higgins' pubes in her teeth. Or so she wishes. Don't worry, Orla, there's some man out there somewhere, but he's probably so fucking scared and intimidated by that edgy nose piercing and caustic wit. Okay, now who else is here? There's Con, guys, the twink with the best ankles on campus. Con is on a fucking ad, in case you didn't see his smiley face playing a bit of PS4 with the boys. You know Con, guys, tough day of law and a bit of the gym down. He wants to mince home in his culottes, unwind with the sofa, the boyos, and the thought of sweet, sweet puss in his mind. Claire O'Neill, can I get a dead right?
Dead right.
I'm dead right. The motion for the debate tonight is that this house would marry rich. That we'd all, given the chance, put our legs in the air, backs on the mattress, and wallets in our pockets as someone else picks up the tab. Now, it sounds easy, doesn't it? Forget about your cares, your worries, your dreams, and basically everything that makes you a valid human being for the sake of cash in pocket. It's easy to be vapid and uncaring about anything in life bar ulterior motives, pardon me. Members of the proposition, including the whip, have pointed many fingers at the opposition and accused us of being no better than the soulless money grabbers that we denounce. They think that they're above us, that they're altruistic and kind-hearted. No, thank you. Eton is the kind... Oh, that didn't work for you, mate. Eton is the kind Irish school teacher we'd all wish we'd had, who'd have taught us about how to make St. Bridget's crosses, how to do our times tables, and to turn a blind eye to clerical sex abuse. I'd like to read the room. Yes, Eton.
I'm not even religious, like, where are you getting this from?
You're basically from Tiernanog, Eton, like, come on. In school, Sebastian gave so much money back to charity when him and the Rugger boys used to camp out for 24 hours in the city centre, wank each other off in their sleeping bags over the RTE news segment. If you look really closely, Sebastian's actually wearing his class graduation ring. There is no punchline, it's just a fact wanker. An unnamed member of the proposition, who will remain nameless, who's equally charitable and caring, is a certain female member of the proposition who was chatting to me on a night out in Freshers Week, and in the middle of it, she points to a guy over there that we both know, and she goes, "Is he gay?" I was like, "I've known him about 2 days, so I don't really know." And she goes, "Oh God, I wish he was. I'm basically queen of the gays." Probably won't take much effort to guess who that neoliberal is. Well, if the proposition see themselves as so perfect, then we argue that in fact they don't have what it takes to actually marry rich, because the truth is no one does. It might sound simple, but our main point for this debate isn't that marrying rich is wrong. No, we just wonder, why the fuck would you bother? Like, I've done extensive research on the science of how to marry rich, and at the end of it all, one thing that really encapsulated how to do it came up, and it's a 28-step simple WikiHow article. It's all you need to find that special someone who will buy you a Fendi bag for 7 minutes of rough, unlubricated anal. So what I'd like to share is a few excerpts from this tips and this guide. on how, and I'd like to imagine how some members of the proposition would cope if they were to follow this guide. So the first tip, it is far better to own a few pieces of good quality clothing than cheaply made ones. Avoid any clothes that have brand names screaming across it. Maeve, your repeal jumper has already singled you out of this equation. But do not wear, yeah, go on.
Shane, did you take that WikiHow article because you didn't have any original material?
No response. But don't worry, Maeve, just because they won't marry you, it doesn't mean that you have to give up on your beliefs and morals, because you're one of the least prudish people I've ever met. Maeve is a realist, she doesn't judge, and has no time for those on high horses. She asks how it feels to be looking down from the moral high ground when she's really looking up to catch daddy's load. Now, the second tip. The second tip. Be a really good lover. Learn the art of massage and use it on him. Give it 100%. I live under Maeve in Trinity Hall, building 90, but really I'm living vicariously under Ryan. And at night I can almost feel his sandy neck scruff against my back. Don't ever trade him, Maeve. Money, fast cars, and Monaco can't take away the love that CTYI gave you. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan and Maeve met at the Centre for Talented Youth Ireland. It's a summer camp where children as young as 7 have to get an IQ test in order to get in. So I think from the start we know that these two are all about what's up here. So if sex is such an important part of bagging that rich husband, then maybe leave it to people who don't spend romantic couples getaways in Cork getting sick in the toilet, begging babe to hold your hair and tell you you're worth the struggle. Sorry. My third and final tip, and this is probably the most frank and honest piece of advice I've ever seen written down. WikiHow has zero chill. So it is evaluate and be realistic about your looks, brains, and personality. If you are average looking, slow-witted with a dull personality, forget it. Members of the proposition, need I say more? Getting that sugar daddy, as much as you think it's worth it, it's morally fine, or it's totally your decision, it's actually impossible. It's never gonna happen. Because all the best daddies and cougars were taken long ago. No one's gonna stuff €50 in your crotch in Club NASA tonight. No one's gonna pay this term's fees. Just look at some Phil people. All you have to do is go on Facebook and look at David O'Connor's profile picture. All the hope, all the lust, all the need and the want in that young boy's eyes as Joe Biden looms powerful and strong over him. All he wants is Joe to lean in and give him what he wants. Comfort, security, money, and a warm arm at night over his shoulders. He needs Joe to whisper in his ear softly, tell him he doesn't need to worry about money again. He wants him to say, keep that grin on your face, I'll pay for you to smile every day of your life. But Joe didn't say that, no. Joe crushed his dreams and returned to the US of A. Ladies and gentlemen, if David O'Connor cannot marry Rich, none of us can. And with that, I leave you with one final note. Perhaps all this talk of marrying rich is to escape the hardship of life, but really I think it's just jealousy. It's just the easy way out for those who started life on the wrong footing. The Proposition Whip and many others have called me posh, talked about my South Dublin accent and private schools and all of the above and my suit, whatever, fuck you all. I have one thing to say, enjoy searching for your daddy, because at least I don't have to fuck mine.
So all those in favor of the motion say aye, all those against it say nay, and be on sale in the reception for €20, and as well will be